Good morning, afternoon, evening, folks, and welcome to Neon Lights Roleplay, and welcome to another episode of Until Stars Collapse! So, first off, I'd like to thank Briar Sovereign for making the game that we're using today, Case and Soul. It's a Forge in the Dark mecha rule set, and if you like what you're hearing, enjoy this game, or are just plain interested, please check it out. It was released last Friday, so once again, go check their stuff out. Also, we're celebrating Women's History Month along with Mecha March, so we'll be hosting some pretty cool mecha-themed one-shots all throughout the month, along with supporting different charities. So if you have the time or energy, please check either of those out. But to more important matters, I have a lovely cast for today, and well, actually, a lovely cast for the rest of the month. So please tell us who you are, who you're playing today, your playbook, and answer me this one question. If you could ask a single question and get a truthful answer from the universe, what would you ask? Starting off with Foxy.
You've never make going first easy, Michelle. Goddamn, I'll stall time. All right. Hi, Internet. How's it going? I'm Young Foxy, aka Big Foxy, also known as your favorite Fox Philly's finest. And tonight, I am happy to reprise my role as Lance Admiral Alleluia Caden of the Rimwood Colony Navy. Pleased to make your acquaintance. It's been a lovely campaign, and I'm looking forward to more of this. And I think if Alleluia had to ask the universe one question with an honest answer right now, it would simply be, is a soldier's death a meaningful thing? Is anything a meaningful thing in a universe so cold?
You'll just have to figure out an answer for yourself, huh? Next up, Tensei.
Hi, I'm Tensei, and tonight I will be playing the idol Shinya Nova, local VTuber who got drafted somehow. And if they were to ask the universe any one singular question, knowing that they could receive an honest answer. Hey, what's up? How you doing? I bet nobody ever asks you that. Everybody always wants stuff from you. How are you?
So sweet of you. Incredibly sweet of you.
Okay, Tensei stole my idea for for a universe question, so I need to come up with a new one. But yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm John. I'm playing Archeron Rose, the orphan, and I guess here I'll stick with the same theme though. I think the question for the universe is: was it a good run? Are you proud of the time you've had? Or do you have regrets?
Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm Legendary Vermin. Tonight I am going to be playing Tenebra Shroud, the Ace. And I think if Tenebra had to ask any question of the universe, it would be... Will the language and culture of my home planet ever be recovered and revitalized?
Maybe that's a question for your people. And as for me, I'm Michelle, I'm your game maestra for the day, and I will be playing everyone else who's not these four lovely people. But before we move on, I'd like to just make ourselves aware that while our wonderful players here have taken steps to ensure comfort, please be aware that we are going to be inching into some territory, exploring some things like cult culture, imminent death, war media, and general violence warnings. So if at any point you feel that that makes you as an audience member uncomfortable, including right now, please zip away from the show until you're comfortable, until next time. Either way, thank you so much for coming out to spend some time with us. Cool, huh? But as our lens falls into the scene, life goes on, ticking down the clock. An enigma, question without answer. And through vast expanse and starry sea, we find ourselves at the Alatheia System. Solar system that has reached its twilight, its ever-expanding red star hovering on the brink of core collapse. But that day is not yet a year. Our camera zooms in on the Solar Sail Ingress, the intergalactic research station. It's seen better days. Glass and solar panels are cracked. Smoke floats away in variegated patterns from now sealed cracks in the station. A little further from the sun, the two disabled evacuation ships, the Rose Compass and the Sunrise Sails, are towed along at a fast clip to escape the ever-increasing pull of the star's gravity. Debris from the fight, enemy case debris, ship debris, have long since either fallen into the sun or have pockmarked the station like needles. Now, we ended our session last time at an interesting point, which is right after the mission. So we have a few mechanical things that we need to figure out, which include things like faction clock changes, which is where we tick faction reputation up or down depending on how the previous mission went. Which for us is pretty simple. We got +2 ticks for the RCN because we completed the mission very well, -1 for the Craven Emissaries, and +1 for the Tomb Keepers. Now is not the time to talk about how that is affected because so far there's been no major shakeups. Now we lens into our downtime. Our camera makes its way over towards Lance Admiral Alleluia.
The camera sort of, I think, follows along the hallway and through the the rapidly opening and sealing of an auto door into what I think looks like a large set of table bays, with I guess bench platforms to sit on. At least 2 or 3 of them are busy with groups. Each one has a single officer of the RCN who has a uniform that's mostly kind of well kept with I think I think the default officer uniform is going to be, why not? Let's go with white here. The default officer uniform is going to be white, with the sort of lapels on the side, similar to what Alia's has, but a bit simpler in regard. And then several other pilots around them. As the camera scrolls past them, each table has a similar scene. A pilot will recall an incident from the battle, something like along the lines of, I had incoming autocannon fire, so I swerved left with my RCVSs as hard as I could. Hit my thrusters. G-forces almost fucking snagged throat out of me for a while. I pulled out of my roll, went to target my my rifle, and then I saw it off on the left. Nice little pockmark explosion of pink. It's a reactor going critical. Then 027's signal went dark. At which point the officer will say something like, anybody else? It will get quiet for a while, and then the officer will move on and say, tail number RCN 017, give a call sign of some kind and ask if anybody saw anything. Most of the time, everyone will just be quiet. The officer will mark killed in action, no detail, on the roster and move on. At the end of that table, at the corner of it, is another of this with a very similar scene. A couple of pilots and an officer. Except in this case, this officer is in the black of an admiral's uniform, as Alleluia personally sits themselves amongst the crew, and takes account. Well, it's called an interrogation. They take an interrogation on the scene. So this is where the scene currently finds Alleluia just looking over and recounting what's happening with the crews, looking at things, checking and making sure that getting information on what happened on the last mission, listening to soldiers, and doing what they can to be a figure of stability and authority at a time when he knows lots of pilots want to just break or lash out.
And tell me if this sounds right to you, but the room itself feels cold. Maybe it's from the air conditioning, maybe it's just from the atmosphere. Maybe it's just because Bast has turned down the temperature controls just a few more degrees. Keep people focused. You see a couple of mugs filled with caffeinated beverages, tea, coffee, as people try to stay awake after a action-packed, tiring shift.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty accurate, I would say. There's definitely a fair amount of... Yeah, I think it's definitely like... Okay, so I would say, yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of crew who are, I guess, trying to make the most of what's happening after a mission. Like in this space specifically, as it's like an interrogation room, it would only be reserved for pilots and the officers who are interrogating. So it wouldn't be overly busy, but I do think that it's a really somber area as people kind of just languish around and effectively have to tell officers about how they watched people they care about die. And like
Yeah.
it's I should also I guess briefly add, like, there is like actually no, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll leave that there for now.
I mean, like, for I think it's on this moment that Bast walks in with the full casualty report from the med bay.
Aaliyah stops the interrogation there in the middle of, if you'll give me one moment, soldiers. And then they look over to Bast and indicate them forward.
Bast bats you the file. It sort of electronically, holographically pings up in front of you. You see a report of the people who have died on the table, as it were. A list of the walking wounded, a list of the people who are going to need a few days, sometimes weeks, to recover.
Given Aaliyah at this point is looking over the roster for a while as like a soldier is like several soldiers kind of look very much like they just need something, and they turn to the current crew they're interrogating and just, pilots, if you don't mind, I'm going to leave you with one of my standing officers for your rest of your interrogation. But I remind you all that attendants are going to, once this is completed, we're going to be sending out rescue teams to recover any pods or breakout cockpits we can find out there. It certainly will find at least some living pilots. I am certain of that. Take heart. And they say that without adjust. I know I put a fair bit of emotion in that. I think there's a lot less emotion in Ali's actual tone as they rise and begin to walk away, looking at the list of casualties and sort of bumbling to themselves. And I imagine also Bast as they're kind of walking along with them as they kind of leave and head back towards the bridge. Approximately, not as bad on actual killed in action, but considering wounded and people who will need time for injuries, we are not casualty resistant currently. Losses like this can't maintain. We have to be more careful with our battle plans. We need to pick smarter targets, be more surgical with strikes.
There were certainly quite a few surprises that occurred. You seem stressed. I have already pre-written out the notices to those killed in action. If you would sign off on them. They are prepared.
Alleluia, without looking anywhere, without looking to Bast at all, just says, I have to go over the reports from a few of the major weapons officers, calibrate with the 5 coordination teams, and also consider my own logs. I will take the time to go over all the casualty logs and give my personal sign off as well as any edits I wish to make personally this evening. Thank you, Shipmaster. They say all this without changing their tone or looking at Bast once.
You watch as Beth sort of pounces forward and then leaps up onto your shoulder. You don't really you feel like a light pressure from the hard light, not anywhere near the kind of weight that an actual cat would have, but just a light pressure as they curl up around your shoulders. Faux fur that's not really hard. It's not soft, but not hard. It's just sort of there. And you should rest, Captain. Delegation. I have already moved many of our tasks. The engineers can handle their own issues. They have already collected all of the damage reports. The medical officer has collated all of the injuries. You can review them in the safety of your room.
Alleluia will continue. Will briefly stop and then continue walking, with Bastel on their shoulder. There are things that I must attend to on the bridge. Some of the officers look shaken and will require a figure of authority to ensure that they remain controlled. If there's anything interesting we required from Ingress or elsewhere, please have that ready for me on a report so I can read it on the bridge. My quarters can wait. That'll be all, and thank you, Shipmaster.
The tomb keepers would like to speak with you at your earliest convenience. I will delay them. And Bast will leap off and pad away.
Alleluia stops, looks over to the left, and sees an engraving of the RCN symbol, sort of a large circle with 3 star points at its sort of apexes at certain places, and then 3 vertical lines of different lengths going down in a line. They trace the similar 3 vertical line tattoo under their eye. Much to do, and I must be more careful. And with that, they'll just move through a door to the bridge and keep going. And I think with that, I have taken the ready up action, allowing me to take the last XP I need to level up.
We'll come back to you for your level up on the next round as
Thank
the
you.
camera pans its way across. Who would like it next?
Yeah, I can go next. If we want to do level up actions as the Ondal thing, I can do that first. Because yeah, I have a full EXP track from last time, and I'd like to cash that in.
All right.
Specifically, I will raise one of my skills. I'm gonna put my discern skill to 2. So I already had a point in discern. I now have 2 points in discern.
Alright, go ahead and reset your XP track. Make your skill change, and when you're ready, take us into your scene wherever you are.
So do you want me to do a scene for the level up as well? Because I can also like fold that into my actual downtime action.
If you'd like to. I'm not
sure.
going to require it, but if you'd like to.
Yeah, because so let's actually go into the downtime for Archeron. I think we'll see with the docking of the ship at Ingress Station. There's obviously a lot of shuffling around. We have a whole bunch of crew members who maybe they leave the ship to stretch their legs, to connect with whoever's on the station, to maybe to do their jobs and do repairs, anything like that, do acquisitions for the ship. There's a lot of kind of movement, I think, around the dock ship. And I think if we think about this from kind of like a camera point of view, the camera is essentially very low to the ground, and we see all these boots, all these like feet running back and forth. Some quite hurried, some maybe a little slower, often in groups, right? And we hear the chatter of people. Sometimes folks like shouting, kind of like maybe orders at each other or anything like that. And every so often, mixed into that scene, we have the slightly bigger boots and the kind of lanky gait of Archeron, just kind of like shuffling around there as well. And every so often we hear their voice as kind of like a timid like, oh, sorry, I'm just gonna push past here, sorry, as they essentially mingle or make their way through the crowd. But as the footfalls get get fewer and the chatter kind of dies down a little bit, we also see a change in the rhythm of Archeron's boots kind of like hitting the ground. And as we kind of pan up and we see the full kind of the full body image of Archeron walking along these hallways, we can see a shift from the usual kind of like, as we discussed last time, kind of hunched over, kind of maybe shy or kind of pensive kind of person, to kind of straightening up and being a lot more I guess decisive in their walk. I'll say mechanically, what I'd like to start with this downtime action. So I'd like to start working on a project. And Michelle, you can let me know what size of clock this would be. I think Archeron has gotten to a point where they've made themselves unimportant enough to the rest of the crew. Essentially, they've built up this image of this weirdo who's just like kind of who we can kind of ignore because they're a little strange. We don't really want to talk to them. They have their whole weird kind of mummification thing going on, so we don't even know what they look like, and they seem to be kind of a loser, so we won't bother with them. They've built that image up enough that they are now, or at least they believe that they can benefit from some like this like veil of not necessarily anonymity, but of like that type of social invisibility where you don't necessarily like physically hide from people. People just don't really pay any attention to you anymore. And with that, Archeron will take the next step in what they're actually kind of trying to do here, which is to start investigating. And I think specifically, I'm going to start investigating if there are I don't know if we would call them moles, but like essentially where the loyalties of the crew lie, and specifically if there are people among our ship's crew that might be reporting to or leaking information to other parts of the Navy that are maybe a little less trustworthy than our Lance Admiral. So essentially this is kind of like a maybe either a skulk or a discern approach to spying on the crew and seeing if I can find any leaks, right? Anyone who might not be quite as loyal to our captain as it would seem.
I'm gonna go ahead and make that an 8-step clock for you then.
Sure. That works
so
for me.
Get this thing to actually change
Yeah.
the. Oh well, okay. If you can read that, fine. Then I'm gonna say that's okay.
That's all good. And then, so for the benefit of the audience here, so the work on a project downtime action specifies that obviously you work on a long-term project. We've established now, this is an 8-piece clock. By doing this on-time action, you automatically add 1 tick to the clock, and then you make a roll using kind of an action that is appropriate to see if you can progress it further within this downtime action. So we get 1 tick automatically just by doing this downtime action, and then you can let me know if this like spying on people would be more of a skulk or more of a discern. It's the same value for me. It's both at 2 for me. So
In this case, with let's see, discern. I think you're trying to Well, tell me, how are you trying to do this? If you want to do this with a discern, I imagine you're doing something more like listening into conversations. You're on a notice that people aren't actually they aren't paying attention to the fact that like you're probably in an area that you're not supposed to be in, so they're having whatever candid conversations that they want, and you're listening to things and trying to draw conclusions. So go ahead.
I think like ultimately it's probably like narratively speaking it's probably a combination of that and also actually sneaking around, but I do think that probably the majority of it is, as you said, is the like I'm just kind of like in the background, like people just don't notice me. Essentially I'm just kind of there, and they while they happen to maybe talk about things that they wouldn't openly talk about otherwise. So happy to do that as a discern. That's all good. Again, it's the same mathematically. It's the same value for me. So I'm gonna roll my 2d6 here, and it's 2 4s. So like the highest is a 4, which makes that a 4 to 5 on a downtime action means that we add 1 more tick to the clock.
And so we tick it up. You have 6 more ticks left.
Cool. I don't know if you already want, like, if there's already anything interesting that these folks might drop in terms of like little nuggets of information, but we can also come back to that when the clock is a little fuller.
If you're okay with with this, Foxy, is that I think you hear some chatter from a couple of regular crewmates. They're engineers, and they're just chit-chatting about some rumors that they heard about there's a couple of admirals that they worked with on the last campaign that they heard they're doing something strange. They're not really sure, but like there's kind of skeevy, especially and you might recall this from your previous conversation with I'm blanking on her name now.
Oh yeah, with the
with Kim Rosethorn,
right.
like that the people are being sort of hired or being drafted with the promise of swift evacuation.
I think what might be a way this information comes about is the 2 engineers are talking about the overall state of like the war at large between the RCN and the faction that's fighting. I guess in the larger scale away from this the cameras, and how it's going okay, but maybe not overall great for the RCN. But how overall most people seem to want the RCN to win because they are pound for pound, the better, more liberal, more like well-serving, more well-meaning faction. But I think that along with that, like the older of the engineers just says like the problem also comes down to that there are people who understand that that's like that's like a belief that most people have and are using that to create places to increase their own power or otherwise do nefarious things, some of them even in the name of doing good.
And I don't even think we need to go any further than that, because I think this is enough for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna essentially next downtime I'm gonna like hone in on those rumors, right? Like I want to try to find out more of what's actually going on there. Yeah, okay.
Works for me.
All right. So as the camera pans away, it's going to lens in on someone else who would like the camera.
I can take it. The camera zooms around and it appears like right in front of Shinya here. Because they're going on a tour of this They're going on a tour of the station Ingress, and they're taking everyone along with them. What's up, Nova Explorers? Today, we're on a space station. It's the first time I've done anything really off-planet. This is kind of new. I don't really know what's here. Let's go find out. And as they wander around this station, there are pretty much every sign is like automatically blurred by a filter that they have, so as not to probably overly cautious of not to present any information that shouldn't be broadcast out, and they explicitly avoid any like hangars or any of that sort of thing. So this is honestly probably a little bit boring. In sort of an overcautious sort of way, they hit up a cafeteria. I don't know what else is on stations, but it's all sort of mundane, and they're definitely trying to hype it up. But it becomes very obvious that that they sort of can't keep it up. That this isn't really it. They have way too. They're censoring themselves, and they're holding back way too much. And where we end up at the end of this is a commissary. And Shinya has a whole box of wires and resistors and capacitors and a soldering iron. And right before purchasing it, they have this box that are walking up to a counter to grab it. Like, hey, it's gonna be a while before you see me again, but I have something really big planned, and it's gonna take all of this. So look out for it, okay? And this like quadcopter drone thing that they have following them around sort of deactivates and slugs down a little bit. Still follows behind them, but it's definitely not acting as a camera anymore. And yeah, they have a whole box full of electrical components. What could this possibly be for? We'll find out during downtime action number 2.
You definitely see the quartermaster giving you a little bit of the stink eye as they sign out your components.
I mean, these are kind of. I can just pay for them. Like, this is
Giving you an eyebrow.
or not. Look, what do you want me to do?
You are going to sign off on this, and you are also going to replace all of those at the next opportunity. You understand?
Right. Okay.
This is not
Not how I thought this worked, but okay. Got it.
not a station.
Sign whatever.
We are not a store. We are the commissary. We are this is the logistics station. We keep track of all the resources here. If you do not sign off on the dotted line,
yeah. They sign for everything. They they make sure that everything is like exactly what they're grabbing, and yeah. No, I'll get it back to you.
right. You're going to get it back to me. Whatever, it's in the extra. I'll put it in the miscellaneous budget. Shoo.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
I roll.
And yeah, doing streams and recording and that sort of thing is definitely Shinya's way of like taking the edge off of themselves. That's how they like get into their zone. They can get into the right headspace. So this is a cool off for them. And I unfortunately have a stat that's a 0.
Well, go ahead and make your roll, and we'll see how that works, huh?
2d6, take the lowest. The lowest is a 1.
Well, you got a 1, so it means that you've done something revealing, and news gets around. So what is it? And everyone else can update their bond with you, ticking their track as usual, assuming you do something revealing. What is it?
What is it that possibly gets around other than just their complete ignorance of how the military works?
I mean, could it be that like officer that you talk to just essentially puts in a complaint with Alatheia about your behavior or something like that?
Oh, maybe.
Again?
Yeah.
This shitter.
I'm ticking my bond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which for the
Oh.
audience, I don't know if I've read out my bond to you all before, but it says Nova, the very existence of your work as a correspondent on the front lines disgusts me. You deserve an
I would-
inglorious death in a shallow grave.
I would say I feel like this would have to be the kind of thing that your character has to be like. You have to like find a way to like make sure your character also knows about. Because I don't think Alatheia would jump to telling you about it. Like, but I do think there's the way you can find out about it and still become a thing.
I like the idea that that Tenebra has a good, like, I have a good reputation. That's like part of I think how I can leverage my notable style.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
like when I talk to people on the ship, they're like, "Oh yeah,
They
you're
give
the
you
hero
what happened.
from X Front." Yeah.
Oh, I gotta give
this
you a
weird thing
badass
happened.
fucking. Oh, hold on. You're the fucking. Oh, god damn it! I'll get you one. I'll get you one. I'll get you one. I'll get you a badass military nickname. I'll get you one. I'll get you one.
But
I'll get you a
I
Gundam
think-
ass nickname. I got you one.
And for me, my bond with Shinya is just as big fan of your work, specifically in this case in the context of the more like overt chaos Shinya causes, the easier it is for me to do my thing unnoticed, because you're the like, you know, the spotlight here. So that's great. I think even in this case, it's probably one of those situations where like Archeron probably like showed up in the background of some of your shots, some of your stream videos, but again, just like nobody really cares. So I'm just kind of doing my thing. But yeah.
I think you're the one face that it doesn't blur because it doesn't recognize.
Yeah, because it's just cloth.
Yeah, because I rolled a 1 on that. Everybody, if they would be affected by this, can take a bond with me.
All right, and I think
And-
yeah. Oh no,
Oh,
no,
no,
you keep going.
I just want to say my bond with Tenebra is 2 words. Just hates me? Question mark.
What's the
I love
mechanically?
the uncertainty.
Mechanically, what's the benefit of filling all 3 boxes in your bond?
SP.
So if you fill the bond clock, then if you reach 3 ticks, you mark 2 XP. They gain a beat, and then you clear your ticks.
Cool.
So
I'm not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
yeah, not quite there yet. But I think what this looks like, if you want to engage with it, as Shinya mentioned, is that it is kind of complaining, right? You basically end up hearing from effectively the quartermaster complains, like the secretary complains to the quartermaster, who like basically posts like a lecture, sort of like a list of rules of like, hey, do not just requisition supplies without
Oh my
without
god,
having
it's like a CC all.
yeah, it's a
Classic.
CC all. It's like, do not do this. Like, we understand that there is not enough supplies, but we need to have it signed off. So it's like, we have an excess due to our previous mission, but we need to have it signed
Wait.
off so we can have it logged.
I love that rather than getting personally told about this incident, Alatheia is like going over like casualty reports at like that super sad scene we just went through in on the bridge. Briefly gets the ping, pulls it up for a half-second distraction. Reads the at all. Nova closes it and goes back to doing what they're doing.
Oh
It's
my
like-
god.
It's classic corporate office politics, right? It's
Yes,
the
yes.
it's like please stop emailing our IT people directly. Please use the help desk email instead.
Please clean your food out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Food that sits there for more than a day is going to be thrown out on Fridays. We're not your mom, etc.
Yeah.
Great.
Anyways, the camera is now passed over to you, Tenebra.
So I think Tenebra is on the Ingress. And they have you said in our chat that they have like a biological like rest area where there's like plants and trees and stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Can you paint me a starting picture?
So this is the Solar Arboretum. It's largely glass enclosed, exposed up to the absolutely gigantic red sun that fills the entire, like, there is no sky, there is no, like, unless you're on the looking through the other side, it's just all red sun. And it's just, it's a little, it's oddly beautiful but oddly strange. This is a research botanical garden, so it's filled with all sorts of fantastical flowers. You have trees, ferns, crawling vines, various other flora, and they're all segregated into different plots. In fact, the flowers are in various stages of bloom. You see different kinds of insects that are just sort of like flying in between. You need healthy, what is it?
Are they
flora and
real
fauna.
or are they like robotic so that they don't infest things?
They're surprisingly real, but what you do
Ooh.
see are a couple of robotic upkeep. Like you see some robotic upkeep that's like, going around watering the plants, double checking the temperatures, making sure that if there are specific enclosures that they're well done. But oddly enough, there's one in the middle that's just a plot of what looks like something that's supposed to be planted, but it's just empty. Like, it's definitely been tilled. There's definitely something seeded there, but there's nothing growing.
So I think what we see is Tenebra bathed in this like red-orange light from above. The sun taking up all of the sky available, is walking towards the biggest tree that they have, which isn't very big, right? It's grown on a station. There's no wind, so there's like a hard limit to how tall it can grow. And she like gently presses her hand against the trunk. And we get a flash to another planet and another Tenebra. This time very small, like a child. Her clothes are red and gold. She's wearing a circlet and a sash. And her hair is done up elaborately. There's no mask covering the lower half of her mouth, or the lower half of her face, excuse me. And we see on the palm of her hand, as she pulls it away, there's like a sticky red paint that she leaves behind on this tree. And as we pull away, the tree itself is massive. There are dozens of people behind her and like long processions of people coming up to this tree. All of this is communicated in like a few short shots. There's another cut to a meeting where she is kind of like behind her parents, kind of like looking in, and we see her family, similarly done up in regalia, talking to what are clearly members of the RCN. And then another cut to an RCN building in her home. It cuts back to the tree, and we see her age a few times, and that throng of people who were coming to like place their hand against the trunk of this massive tree dwindles and dwindles until it's just the older people in the community, and she is an adult. Her clothes over that period shift from being very like rich and regal in reds to being increasingly drab and military. And then we're back on the station. And she goes and sits in front of that empty plot, placing like crisscross applesauce, hands placed on knee, closes her eyes, and imagines a garden on her homeworld. And that is her taking an action to cool off.
All right. Go ahead and roll dice equal to your lowest attribute.
Which I believe is a 1. So I roll a 6.
Damn. Okay, so you're clearing stress equal to that. And then you do something revealing and news gets around. So figure out what that is.
She takes out, while she's here, she takes out a set of candles, a cloth, and a set of chimes, and performs like a very quiet ritual in front of this like plant that is not done growing and like almost certainly won't survive what's to come. They literally planted a plant in a space station next to a sun that's about to explode. Its life is going to end early, so she does both a ritual for like welcoming a new life into the world and also performs a tiny funeral for a plant.
Damn. Well, if anybody's around for that bond clock to update, go ahead and do so.
I think what I would like for mine would be like, as opposed to being there, that someone on the bridge just randomly pulls out like a personal recording device of some kind. Like a couple of people definitely gather around, and one of them, like a someone like maybe kind of important, like a weapons officer of some kind, happens to like pull out a small recording device and take a little video of it. And it, Vermin, you can fully decide what emotion it spreads about the crew, but regardless, because of that emotion, lots of people end up seeing it, and because it ends up being notable enough that like someone sends the video to Alatheia, and like Captain or Admiral, you should probably be aware of this. And in that similar scene where they're doing stuff on the bridge and also get the email, the ad all about about Nova, they also get the video as well and see that, and they don't say anything in response. They do look at you, and it is a reminder of your time talking about your old culture in our time before this war, when we used to sit together and share games. And I think that takes our bond.
I think Tenebra hasn't spoken about her home planet with you.
Fair enough.
And that's what's revealing, is that like,
oh, that's even better.
This is something that you're like, and I think most people, there's maybe like 1 or 2 people on the whole of your crew who would know what's happening here, and recognize it for what it is. To everybody else, it's just like girl sitting in front of dirt, playing with bells and a candle. But you have this like ongoing relationship with her, and you're like, I wonder what this means.
Which I think is perfect. I think that seeing that bit of you you've never actually shown even in our prior relationship feels perfect in playing to the description I wrote down for our bond, which is the following. You are what happens when people are born into a burning galaxy. It and you must be better. And I think that Alleluia is seeing this part of you that goes distant from everything that they already think about you. And it's both very, very refreshing, but also personally upsetting, as it's a burning reminder of why you shouldn't be the way you are in their eyes. Actually, why you shouldn't have to be the way you are.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. Do we want to go another round around the horn? Do we want to take a quick break?
I have a question first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Vermin, was Tenebra's home planet in this system, or is she from elsewhere? Okay, all right.
Yeah, she's definitely not from here.
Okay.
The mech, I think, indicates as much. Like, to get a Gophanon heavy industries, or like maybe there's like the hangar scenes.
You are cutting out super hard.
Sorry. I think maybe there's like throwaway dialogue in one of the hangar scenes about like you don't see Gophanon heavy industry mechs around here. This is from outside of this system, and that's what indicates that she's not from here. Also, being short, like none of the planets I think here make people that short.
To your question, I think it might be nice for the flow to finish up the downtime before we go on break. I would say.
Indeed.
Then
Cool with that.
pass around the camera again.
Before taking the camera, I should mention that for the audience at home, last session, Alleluia filled his all or used, I guess, or took whatever the language is. They used all 9 of their stress last session in total, giving them what's called a shift, meaning something about my personality, about my character, physically or otherwise, must change. I gain a new trait that, when that causes me trouble during missions, I gain more experience for. However, if I gain all 3 of those, and I can only remove stress by taking actions like the cooldown, downtime actions, or stuff like that, which I'm deliberately not taking for character reasons. If I take 3 shifts of such, I am taken out of the campaign permanently. So, the shift that I'm taking is hesitation, as Alleluia is again thinking they have to be a lot more careful. They are placing a lot of the burden of the loss that's being suffered, even though it's not very heavy loss. They are, as they did during the Grace Chan campaign, they are. The Chan Grace campaign, they are blaming a lot of the burden on themselves. So that's my shift. Secondarily, having filled my XP bar, I have decided to increase my my steady stat up to 2 now, bringing my skin up to 2 as well. So that's that. That said, that's all I got. Are we doing the same order for downtime actions, or are we doing something else?
I think it makes sense, right? If you just want to do your other downtime.
Okay. Mine's probably going to be on the bridge for the thing that I have planned. So if everybody wants to be there for it, you're welcome to be on the bridge and be witness to the thing that I'm about to do, and then we can talk afterwards if you want. It's up to you. It's fine.
I'll decide once I know what you're doing.
Fair enough. Alleluia is, as of current, just on the bridge. It's still probably a bit busy with officers working on upkeep and things and preparing for whatever orders they're going to give next. They're in their command throne, sitting a bit leaned back, legs crossed, hands together, constantly swiping through screens and going over things like that. I think, if you don't mind, Michelle, I'm actually gonna mark some soul load here for I'm gonna say for equipment befitting of my station. I think all admirals and all people who command ships have kind of like a biological implant that's kind of like a neural link with the very basics of your ship systems that kind of lets you, at very least, like handle things like moving information, like moving like screens and stuff like that, and very simple stuff like that by like thought. I guess, and a lot of link is provided by virtue of the shipmaster, which in this case is the AI Bastet. And so Alleluia is kind of just sitting there, like, as they're kind of thought blinking through multiple screens, looking over things, kind of thinking through the casualty reports and realizing that they have to move on to new orders soon. They are preparing to contact the Tomb Keepers and figure out what they want, probably, and then also use that to take a downtime action. Is that's what I'm doing. So if anybody wants to be there for that, then let me know.
I
Click
think.
no. Oh,
I
never
think
mind.
no.
If nobody else, then yeah, Michelle. After a moment, Alia is going to just I think that for the first time, it's the first time they've spoken in about maybe an hour and a half of complete silence of just silently sitting there and going through screens. Shipmaster Bastet, you mentioned contact with the Tomb Keepers. I'll take that call now. Thank you.
Of course. And Bastet opens up the call. In front of you, as soon as the communication opens, you see two people. The faces are pretty familiar. It's Sage Schwartz and Magus Murden again. Their hoods are down, and you see Schwartz has base white robes, black trimmings. She's got long, braided, bright red hair that glows like fire under the red sun. She's tall, thin, frames over hazel eyes, and looks a bit like a mad scientist, actually, as she, it's actually a split-screen camera view, so you actually see as she walks past, walks through the station heading towards the Solar Arboretum. In fact, you can see, in the background, if you're still there, Tenebra, just like, your figure passes by as she goes through the arboretum tents to the flowers. Meanwhile, Murden is in opposite colorings: short, stocky, messy, short hair, oil slick black, sinking light into its depths. He's got a wrist computer that he's fiddling with, and in the background you can see a massive server complex. You reckon that's probably the servers housing the quantum computer. And I look up.
Sorry,
Lance,
briefly give me a title I could use to address this Murden by.
Murden is Magus.
Magus. Okay, got it. Magus Murden.
Right, yes, Lance Admiral, right, we needed to talk to you. What were we talking about? And you can see as Murden is just sort of very distracted with what looks like some kind of terminal. In fact, you can see as it sort of like ticks down that it's going from a year, ticking down, stopping at 6 months, ticking down, going down to 4 months.
Magus, should the clock back there be doing that?
I mean, the readings have been dropping for a while. Like, okay, well, normally the quantum clock has only ever been decreasing in time, which is what it's supposed to be doing, but I would hazard a guess that the recent additions have added perhaps been the tipping point in core mass. And you can see as he pulls up a reading on the mass of the core and sort of correlation to how much energy it's putting off, as well as how much its gravitational pull can actually support, or at least what they're guessing how much it can support. And it's like, well, it should. It's been holding steady at a year for the past 5 decades, so we thought there was something wrong with the predictions, but it looks like maybe maybe we're just running out of time now. Well, we've been running out of time.
Hallelujah. Michelle, Hallelujah isn't a scientist, but I'd wager going through military academy for several years and then admiral school and also being a fucking smarty pants. Could I perhaps roll something like discern to see if maybe Hallelujah can maybe have an aha moment here?
Sure, go for it.
I'm willing to push myself up to twice here. Which I
mean,
believe
you don't
is
have to push yourself, but go for it if you'd like to.
I only have one die by default in discern, so I'm going to do that. Yes, thank you. That's okay with everybody here. Please remind me how much stress do I gain per pushing myself?
For pushing yourself, you spend 2 stress.
All right, then I will gain a grand total of 4 to go ahead and make a roll with 3 dice. Hoping for something sexy here. Oh, a 6 on the highest one. 6, 5, and a 2.
With 6, a 6 and a 5 and a 2. Okay, with a 6, you are absolutely certain that, like, just based off the data, you're certain that Murden's initial hypothesis is correct. Whatever happened today has pushed the star from a steady expansion, at least the hold steady pattern that it's been, to a slightly more rapid expansion. You're not sure how long it'll be, but the fact that it's dropping so rapidly makes absolute sense to you, and it's, well, very concerning. As you watch as
Hallelujah.
it ticks down from four months down to 2 months.
Hallelujah. Externally, the only thing that happens, I think, is that their eyebrow raises at least a fair bit higher than it normally does for a usual eyebrow raise, and just that's a thermodynamic miracle. Timer shouldn't impossible. That would give this system no less than weeks at best.
At best, and you watch as it sort of like drops down to a week and hovers there. As it stays there, you on the split screen. Actually, is anybody else like Vermin? I know you're in the Arboretum, but are you paying attention to this random scientist who's sort of like walking through?
Absolutely.
So you see as Schwartz is carrying what looks like a box. A very ornate wooden decorated box covered in circles and floral designs. And as she walks through past the plot you're at, you watch as first buds begin to sprout from the plot. Flowers begin to grow. The box itself, you watch as dials that were previously seemed to just be inset designs start to turn. What looks like a segmented clock with different designs on it pops out.
Sorry, so as the clock goes by, plot that I'm at starts sprouting?
Yep.
Sure, that's not affecting any weird okay, that's fucked up. Thank you for telling me.
Just saying. In fact, you hear as Schwartz just she pauses, looks at the flowers. Are they? We hypothesized that those flowers would sprout once a certain wavelength of light hit them, but I wasn't. She begins to like look over the plot, not touching.
I think Tenebra has packed up at this point, but is still like lingering.
Like, oh, You there. This relic, we're not entirely certain, and like she's still on the call, like, but is definitely not paying attention to what's going on with the quantum computers. Like, this is a relic that we pulled from Arbor Hearth. They don't measure time the same as us. You're gonna have to talk with the keeper about that. But I'm pretty sure this is some kind of like countdown clock that's a lot like the quantum clock, but it's semi-biological. And you know, the fact that it's kind of glowing and ticking down right now is a little concerning. But here, and she just sort of like plops in your arms and goes, if you can get that to somebody who knows a little bit more. I've studied about, you know, the Arbor Hearthian culture for a while, but unfortunately I got moved here, so you know I'm not going to be able to help you much. But hey, if you can find someone, maybe they'll be able to tell you some. I'm not entirely certain, actually. And
Good words,
she
Magus. Where should we be going for information?
but Murden, who's still typing away at his computer, goes, just Arbor Hearth, if you can make it. You might have to pass through, so like it's travel through the asteroid belt has been interesting for a while. But if you can make it there with no issues, and he just you can see as he looks around at like the cracked walls of the server room, you'll most likely be fine. There's, as far as I know, there was a shipment of relics from Arbor Hearth that has been being escorted through the area, so if you could check in on that, that would be appreciated on your way. But otherwise,
we are just off of a sortie. If you were asking us to go into another combat, well, that complicates things.
the relics are. We would like to have them preserved. Unfortunately, it appears if you could ascertain their if you could ascertain if they are being properly guarded and escorted, or in good condition as they leave, and are not being poached by those. Anyways, if you could do so, then you can tell the tomb keepers on Arbor Hearth that I sent you, and they will pay you for your troubles. I'm afraid we cannot offer you much more than that, besides some rare seeds, relics in return.
Hallelujah will briefly wave a hand. My shipmaster will negotiate a formal payment of a contract with a standard rate and fare. Maintain any excess payment. Alternatively, if you have a few things, namely a team of engineers or two you have on standby, old ships you are retrofitting who might have certain supplies on certain things on hand, there might be something else we could negotiate for that would earn our favor.
I'm afraid we don't have many living members, but our repair crew. And he motions over to like there's a couple of robots that are like wheeling their way around, welding the cracks in the walls.
Hallelujah will nod and say, some of my subalterns will apply some of my engineer crews. We'll make that work. If you have old ships around with the following parts, Hallelujah will blink over a quick list over, or more of a thought blink to send best at a list over to send them over in a moment. And for mechanical sake, this is me using the downtime action acquire an asset, which we can do perhaps, I think, as we come back, or we can roll for it when we come back, because I think we can maybe hit a break after we do that, after we finish the bot stuff.
We can go ahead and roll that now, and then maybe take a break afterwards.
Cool.
If everyone's okay with that. Yes. Okay.
In that case, So I make a roll using whatever action you use to get the stuff. Your result determines the tier. Your GM might require a certain tier for some assets. Actually, you know what? I'll make the roll and then I'll tell you what I want in the off screen. So here comes the roll. I'm gonna use my. I
Sounds
guess
to
I'll
me like you were
use.
doing a sway for negotiation, but if you could want to argue something else, I'll take it. Or I'll
I think the
think
only
about
other
it.
thing I could argue would be my strive isn't going to work here. I'm not necessarily giving a command to my ship. So yeah, I think I'm going to try to use my sway, but I'm definitely going to have to push twice again to see if I can get something useful. I'll push once actually. Nope, twice. Screw it. Yep, push twice. It's fine. Here comes the roll for a 5 and a 2. We can go over what that means afterwards.
All right. Then with that, I think if that's how we're gonna go, then I think we're gonna take a quick break, if that's okay with everyone.
Sounds great to me.
All right then, don't touch that dial. We will be back in some amount of time. So, stick around for it. I think their plot's kicking in. Hello, and welcome back to Until Stars Collapse. When we last left off, we had just gotten, some bad news about the state of the star, as well as an interesting relic from Sage Schwartz, who has sort of hot potatoed it into Tenebra's arms, actually. Yeah, and the scene sort of zooms away from the bridge where the two tomb keepers as well as Lance Admiral Alleluia are, and slides through the screen with Sage Schwartz and opens up to the Solar Arboretum.
Yeah, so looking at this clock, I think that Tenebra takes a moment to think and then turns towards the... I don't know how you tell where the video feed is coming from, but like... Lance Admiral, I'll bring this to you on the bridge as soon as possible. And with that, I think we get a scene of Tenebra carrying it through the station until such time as there's like a nice spot to just like tuck into a corner and capture as much detail about this object as quickly as possible on like a video or something. And then carry on taking it to the bridge. Afterwards, after she's dropped it off, she goes back down to the hangar and climbs into the cunning buzzard. And basically like formats a message saying, hey, this item was discovered by Lance Admiral Alleluia Caden, and it could be of potential interest to other similar collapsing star systems. It may be possible to take it out of this system and reverse engineer it. And it's going to encode that message into like a very small set of like transponders and find a way to get them off ship and transmitting that message to certain RCN admirals. and I think this is a work on a long-term project that I think we can call create pressure.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. I think so for this one, long-term projects are gonna tick. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a 6 o'clock token.
Okay. I feel like I'm trying to sway here. Like I'm trying to get other people interested in this. But if I have to skulk, I have to skulk.
Or
I
access,
think.
maybe?
Hmm?
Access, maybe?
Could
I
be
think-
access.
I think access also makes sense.
The
You're
thrust of what I'm trying to do is like get other people outside of the ship aware of this object, and so it feels to me like kind of selling it in a way. That was my thinking.
You are trying to sell it. Are you focusing on trying to make it so it's unnoticed, or are you more focused on the trying to get people to actually like pay attention to this?
Well, I don't want to be noticed, but the outcome that I want is the outcome I'm more concerned with is. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then go ahead and give me that sway roll.
That's a 1.
That's a 1. Okay, you are doing a work on a project with a 1. You add
It's
no
just no-
progress.
0.
Like it
No
gets the 1 automatic from you.
And then nothing else. Uh-oh.
Sorry, I'm back. It gets the 1 automatic tick from you doing the action, but it doesn't get any extra ticks from the 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's out there, but you don't know if anybody. It doesn't look like anyone's really paying much attention to this. They're They're like, oh, this is interesting, but it's not really relevant right now. I mean, it's not like the sun, like the star's not gonna blow up for another year. We're probably fine. Is generally the sort of chatter you're feeling you're getting.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
pretty apathetic, basically. They're like, we have time. Don't worry about it.
Especially, I like the idea since you worded it as like, hey, this could be interesting to other systems that are like potentially collapsing. That those other systems just doing the like, it couldn't happen to us. Like that's their problem. We're not a collapsing system. We'll never be a collapsing system.
Stars, they take so long to collapse. No biggie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
yeah, that's my
yeah.
action though.
Like I guess like as a bit of flavor, if you wanted to know, there's the quantum clock. The quantum clock broadcast isn't actually like it hasn't gotten back up yet. The transmitter that they're using for that is kind of dead. So the last reading that anyone knows is 1 year.
My second downtime action should be pretty quick. I essentially this is narratively this is gonna kind of be part of the what I've already described Archeron doing. As I hear more about these like rumors and things going on, I'd like to. So this is I think this is also going to be an acquire an asset action. I'd like to. Probably steal or somehow get like a higher security clearance to be able to like access like RCN files that I maybe shouldn't be able to access otherwise.
Okay, so how are you doing this? Are you like
Well, how does the whatever internet we're accessing there, how does that access work? Is it that people have like essentially like digital credentials? Is it that there's like some kind of physical key? Like, mm-hmm. Mm. Well, what if instead of trying to hack my terminal, what if I try to like essentially sneak into a higher officer's room and copy files or something? I don't know. So maybe because I don't even necessarily I don't even think this is necessarily the acquire asset isn't necessarily me actually getting like juicy information. It's more me getting the access to that information later, right? Like getting the putting the mole into the system, right? Like getting the foot in the door kind of thing. So maybe does it then make sense to hmm. Essentially also I'm trying to think how can I make this work with Skulk instead of Access because I don't have Access and I do have Skulk. Can I like? Is there anything I could pickpocket off of someone that that could work here? Is it maybe even just like maybe it's like someone's personal communication device?
Would work.
Yeah. Yeah, basically stealing someone's phone and wallet is is what I'm is what I'm trying to do. Some like officers stuff. Yeah. That's the idea.
All right.
Yeah, and so if you allow me to do that with Skulk, seeing as it like it's an actual, it's the act of physically stealing something. I
Go for it.
will do that. Cool. So that's a 2d6 from me again. Ufa. The threes are making comebacks. So my highest is a 3 here, which for acquire an asset means it's essentially like a lower tier than what I was going for. So it sounds like maybe I didn't actually pickpocket the right person here.
Yeah, I think so. You're passing by. Tell me if this is not what you're thinking of. But I think what happens is there's you're utterly unnoticed as you pass by what is a large gaggle of they're officers and pilots that have just left the interrogation rooms to give their reports, and you're about to sidle up to what is definitely like officer in their white coat, to pickpocket when you actually get bumped. Like, people literally do not notice you, so they
Yeah.
actually don't notice when they walk into you. So they bump you off course, and you end up pickpocketing the pilot right next to the right behind the officer instead. And you pull out you pull out what is their personal comm and a very funny looking paper that is supposedly an access, like it's supposed to be an access card, but it's got like a squiggle written all, it's got like squiggly lines over it and like a doodle, so it's not useless, but it's not great either.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll start spying in on the personal life of one of our pilots. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
It's like it's got like secret rendezvous in the emergency hatch kind of written on it.
Yeah, this is where this is where my whole mission actually takes a complete turn, and I'm not actually interested in investigating the RCN anymore. I'm just like trying to, I don't know, hook this pilot up with someone else or something. I don't know. All right. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, that's my thing.
I think that just leaves Shinya. Yes.
Right. Shinya is with that big box of parts just inside the cockpit of their mech. The long string of panels both above and below, are pulled off. There are extra wires kind of crudely soldered in that trace down into the cockpit onto the floor, connected to all kinds of other circuit boards and and all sorts of other electronic equipment, as they are attempting to devise a system by which they can control their mech remotely.
Okay. So you're still working on your project, which in our previously done, you have already managed 2 ticks of out of 8.
Yes.
So we're gonna go ahead and tick that 1. I'm assuming you are running a work on long-term project, yes?
Yes.
All right, cool. And then go ahead and make me your roll with your action.
I'm going to assume access. Would that be reasonable?
It's up to you, your choice.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, I'll choose understanding computers. 3.
A 3. All right, so you're getting nothing. I think it's probably one of those like, hey, you grabbed a bunch of wires, you grabbed a bunch of components, and you're not quite making progress, mostly because you're getting a lot of people who are walking past you, heckling you for taking especially the technicians and engineers heckling you for taking the components without signing off, without like properly. They're basically like, hey, we wanted those components first, you know. There was a line.
But do you still get the 1 automatic tick though?
He did.
Yeah,
still get
yeah,
the
I do get the
automatic
1
tick.
automatic tick.
He made some progress, but
Yeah.
like he's getting distracted by people who are definitely like.
I'm going to be so upset if I can't fill this 1 clock before this game is over. Yeah, that's it. They're trying to jury rig their system so they don't have to be physically in the unit.
All right then. Well, with that appears to be the end of our downtime actions. That's 2, I believe. Sorry. So, it's at this moment, I think, Tensei, as you're, or not Tensei, Shinya, as you're finishing up, after that, Bast sort of puts out a call. Just. The ship is being repaired. It is almost complete. Crew, please come in to check in with the station. And Bast will bring up a report to Lance Admiral Alatheia. Will you be requesting support from the RCN in order to pick up our evacuation ships?
Yes, please. Tell whatever forces we're going to divert to reinforce our current objective to divert themselves away for repair and rescue right now. We can handle whatever awaits us on our own. I believe so.
It's done. We will be sending an escort to pick up those ships, along with the tow.
I would rather be putting more lives and saving lives than putting more at risk. Thank you, Shipmaster.
Of course. It is of no issue. And Admiral, have you been getting enough sleep?
Not now, Shipmaster. We are at the verge of a mission.
And with this, you see as the communication sort of like pops up in front of you all as Magus Murden pops up. Right. So we've hired a interesting crew. They're colorful. But at least they have been hired to, shall we say, liberate some artifacts from. He's pinching the bridge of his nose and just those wads who keep thinking that their museums are the best. Anyways, ignoring that, it appears that they've been run into some trouble. So if you could head to this location, and the coordinates blink up on your screen. It's an area in the asteroid belt. Lance Admiral Alatheia, you'd be familiar, or perhaps you might not be familiar. Actually, the folks in this area might know that this is a contested spot between Pavanis and Aramgate. In fact, it's right in the middle of one of Aramgate's convoy lines. So, that's, It appears that there was a distress signal sent from our previously hired escort, so if you could, please provide some assistance. We had to be a bit discreet about it, so we'll be sending you a code to verify. We're not entirely certain what happened here.
Headmaster, process that code, and Alatheia will kind of take a they kind of like thank you, Sage, and like nod away the comm. Trouble usually means a sortie. All hands to level 1 battle stations. Crews, ready yourselves. All case wings prepare for sortie. Catafalque Squadron, this means you as well. I'll be sending you some backup though. Panther Squadron's on station and preparing to sortie with you. And they're just scouts, so keep them out of heavy trouble, but they'll provide you some backup.
Any idea what we're after here?
There's a ship we're trying to get after. Artifacts, I believe, that they're maintaining. However, there are both Pavanis and Aramgate forces in this region, and I wager both of them will be after our target. This will be a messy zone. Lots of fire. Keep your zones tight, your engagements clean, and follow as many orders as you feel appropriate, please.
Any reason to...
I was just gonna say, that was just vague enough for Archeron to still do their thing.
Any reason we shouldn't target Pavanis or Aram forces?
Multiple targets that aren't necessarily immediately allies implies there could be a 3-pronged engagement. As a small party in a 3-pronged engagement, there's usually one easy plan to ensure success on your side. Are you aware what that could be, Commandant?
In character, sure. Out of character, what are you implying?
Hey, I'm gonna rephrase that in a way that you might get better.
No. Just tell me out loud, because I think she's smart enough to get it. I'm not.
There's 3 sides here. Pavanis, Aramgate, and us. None of us are allied. That means if we're all fighting each other, let them 2 fight, and then we come and pick off whoever wins. You're the buzzard
Sick.
after all. Come on. It's your thing. I figured you'd know this shit.
They don't call me the cunning buzzard for nothing.
If we're careful, easy pickings. If we're not, a messy firefight. Let's make it happen regardless.
How would I refer to my underlings? What's like their technical assignment? Pilots?
Pilots is fine. Their rank is for ensign for both of them.
Okay. You got that, ensigns? We're laying off, going in through the side, cleaning up whatever we can.
Understood.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, this is the part where I remember. Actually, the ensigns are Archeron and Shinya. So if you can, is Shinya, are you saying anything?
No, I'm good. Shinya is in their cockpit shoving control panels back into place and probably just doesn't hear this.
Okay, sure, fine, whatever. Just imagine
You
trying
get,
to
like,
keep
a
your
nod.
life and be a
I
combat
like the
commander
idea
and
that-
everything. I don't know.
I like the idea that your comms were off until you say, "Is that clear, ensigns?" And like, then you give a yes, but you have no idea what you just agreed to.
Right? Yes, of course.
You see like a small cat pop on your screen going, "Would you like a replay of the conversation?" And like a
Yes.
very, very pointed, disappointed look from Bast.
Yes, please.
I out of character. That'd be yes, please, shipmaster. That's simply my second in command.
The
You
cat is higher
respect
ranked than
that
us.
cat.
That cat's higher ranked than us.
Yep. And you just like see like this most like you know the cat look, like the look where your cat is like ready to murder you, that kind of face. That kind of face is currently on like Bast has that expression, and it's just gonna turn around and just like sort of like flick a playback recording, but it's played super slowly with bolded captions.
I also think like the both Acheron and Nova getting like rank stuff wrong makes perfect sense to me. I don't know about how you two feel about that, but
Yeah,
it just
over.
like
Yeah,
clicks
absolutely.
mentally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's I also, and this, we don't have to go fully into this, but like how advanced is the AI in like, is this to the point where like Best has like full sentience, like full like self-awareness, or
Pretty much.
Yeah. So okay, so it's like it's essentially a full-on like being that is just an artificial intelligence. Okay, good.
Where
That's
it sounds like
not
we're in
happening.
ancillary justice territory, except it's distributed via like hard light instead of people.
Pretty much.
Bast is currently not happy with Nova right now. For many reasons, including the ship-wide ad.
Yeah,
it-
motherfucker,
it-
let's launch.
Yeah, I do think like for, since we already got the command to like get ready in our stations and all that kind of stuff, so I think like for we what we heard Archeron say like, oh yeah, sounds good for like the, hey, we'll sneak in and hit hard kind of thing, hit fast and hard. The when we actually see them in, again, like to come back to what I mentioned last time, in the like weirdly spacious, very like roomy cockpit of their case, they were like they used their like innocuous voice, but they were very much in murder mode already. Like they this is exactly the kind of stuff that they like to do anyway. So now getting the actual command to sneak in and strike, they're on their A game right now.
Speaking of which, does this feel like a deception? Like we're tricking them into fighting each other, or stealth? We're deploying such that hard to notice until the last moment.
I think it's stealth. I think they're gonna fight each other regardless, because this is like a Tomb Keeper ship that has the relics in it. They're gonna fight each other over because they both want it, regardless of whether we're there. We want to try to not have them know we're there for as long as possible. B, if they do find out we're there, not know why we're there. And C, wait till they scrap to each other enough before we finally strike decisively, get the relic, and get the hell out of there. And if we need to take one of them out, then do that decisively while we get the relic thing. So I think this is gonna look a lot like the ship trying to keep to asteroids and navigate a proper route that gets you guys a proper like perfect moment to like you guys are kind of probably could also like already be deployed, maybe like flying through small asteroids and like waiting for the moment where like the go sign is given to like break for the ships, and otherwise just like doing whatever you can to like keep stealth, whether that's like flying low or like picking off scouts or whatever you can do to like stay low. I think that sounds like the overall plan for stealth. So I guess entry point would be through the asteroid belt without being seen is our entry point for stealth. We should probably mechanically explain what we're doing here, right? So for mission plan, we choose an engagement. There are 6 options in the game: assault, deception, transport, stealth, social, and negotiation. We pick one. Each one has us, the players, not the GM, have one detail that we have to come up with together. For stealth, that's entry point. And then we roll to basically find out how well we do that to determine how good or fucked we are for the current mission.
Which, now that we're talking about that, this is a fortune roll, so they start with 1 dice for good luck. They then take 1 dice for any major advantages. So, like, hey, is it bold or daring? Is it hitting them where they're weakest? Are they getting any assistance? Or is their tier higher? Right? You're not getting any assistance. You are technically hitting them where they're weak because they're most likely engaged right now. So take 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say arguing hitting them where they're weak, and it's specifically hitting both factions on their greed. They both want whatever's on those ships more than they care about whatever we're here for.
Then take -1d for any major disadvantages. So is it complex? Not really. Are they expecting you? Also no. Is someone interfering? Not really.
Yeah, we're the ones interfering.
You guys are the ones interfering, but is your target higher tier than you? Well, sort of.
Can I argue, and this is you, please squad, tell me if this is pushing it hard here, between A, the convo that was just had between Alatheia and Tenebra, B, Shinya getting the rerun of the entire plan and briefing from Bastet, and C, Archeron being like, well, a plan that actually goes with what I plan to do, I might actually, do this time. The fact that the squadron might actually be following along with orders, along with getting the scouts to help out along with that, could that maybe give us a 3rd die? Pretty pleased with a big cherry on top in space?
As like another advantage, you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly. For another
We're
advantage.
basically saying like, I think so. Here's the way that I read fortunes like this: the 1d for any major advantages is not on a per advantage
per
basis,
each one. Okay,
right?
it's just maximum. Okay.
I think it's maximum 1 to keep it as simple as possible. Unless there is like a piece of equipment that would apply here or something.
So the only reason why I think that might not be a thing, and this is just asking specifically, is because, and I don't want to hold it too long, is that if you end up in a mission where you have no advantages but you have a drawback, you then can't make the roll at all because you don't have any die. You start off with 1 and then you take 1 away.
You would make it with disadvantage. Anytime you have 0 or fewer dice, you roll to take the lowest.
You're right, and that's fair, and I accept that. Rolling with 2 die, thank you all very much.
You roll with 1 die because you're taking +1 for your weakness, and you're taking -1 because
what weakness? What's the weakness?
Or because we're striking their weakness, and I think Michelle is saying that they're a tier higher than us.
Oh, the tier affect this roll?
Yeah, tier does affect this roll. If your target is a tier higher than you.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. So, rolling 1 die. Happening right now. That's a grand total of a 4.
A 4 is a standard position, so we're gonna mark that.
I'm also going to roll my predicted. So this is my move where I get to reduce any harm we take during this mission by a certain amount at any time, based on me being super duper smart. That's also a 4. Cool.
Yeah. I just want it known for everybody that I'm very bad at skulking.
Like I'm happy to take lead if that makes sense in this mission, but
yeah,
like
it
absolutely
does.
Yeah, I just be like because I think we'll probably need like at least someone to essentially be the rear guard, I guess, or like the person who, if we do end up engaging with the other factions, to be the person in the front lines there. Yeah.
Right. Can I? 2 things. 1, like that plan, and I think that with the scouts that we could do some really good group actions that everybody could we can roll high enough on that could help out that. 2, can we have this combo 1 character, please? I would think it'd be so cool. Please, 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 please.
You got it, Cap.
Thanks, babes. I love y'all. So like, can we get like camera cut? Kate's is flying through asteroids as we get a wipe away after the launch. The ship behind slow ghost driving through the asteroids and trying to maintain small corrections as it moves through asteroids and like overcoms the tapping in. I love the idea that like maybe it's like just squad comms at first and you all don't expect like Alatheia to just tap into your direct squad comms and like talk and add to this conversation.
You actually watch as like it's at this point that the ship is actually coming out of wake drive, right? There's right in front of the asteroid belt. There's asteroids floating across. You see, it's pretty dense. If you made a straight path through with a wake drive, you could probably go through with no problem. But you're going into the asteroid belt. There's no way you can navigate while using your wake drive. So as Bath sort of pulls up navigation computers, you watch as they start predicting where the asteroids are going to float next, and the quickest path to reach the coordinate points. There's screens, different
Penance.
pilots.
You take lead on this. I've seen how you move through the battlefield. Pick us a route. We'll follow on you.
Roger that. If you've seen, then I haven't been doing it well enough.
Don't forget that you show up on IFF.
I think this is actually where we get like 2 regular pattern carousels that are like painted in like a much darker green with some blue stripes on them. In terms of 2 pilots from Panther Squadron, our scout cohort, kind of like cartwheel spin around an escort, and I think one of them will cut in. Somebody give me like a call sign theme we can use for all their call signs. What's a theme? Colors or like weather pattern. Give me a call sign.
What's their squad called?
Panther.
Panther? Oh
I'll
god.
spawn in the big cat figure or something. I don't know.
Like we could, if you want to go for like window weather patterns, we could just go with the 4 the 4 Greek names for the cardinal winds, right? Like so Zephyrus, Boreas, Eurus, and whatever the 4th one is.
Zephyrus.
That's so cool, actually.
Yeah,
Noted.
that's one cool, 2 Dib Zephyrus.
Boreas, Zephyrus, Notus, and Eurus.
Notus. Yeah, Notus was the one that I forgot. Yeah.
Dib Zephyrus. So
Are we all
yeah,
going? I'll be
actually,
Eurus.
you know what? Yes, everybody be one. Everybody has to be one. Don't care.
I'll be Eurus, then I'll be the East Wind.
I'll be
I'll-
Noctis.
Then I'm Boreas.
Cool. I imagine it's Zephyrus and Notus who kind of like twirl around the asteroid and just yes, in your combat logs, kid. You get around the battlefield quiet at least. Could use a little work, but I'm sure you'll improve rapidly. Regardless, we'll keep our eyes on your backs. That other rookie, however, louder than a bull going down a hill. And I think camera pans to Shinya.
Sorry, I was looking up things about the gods.
You're good.
Fair.
Yeah,
God,
how
you
does
really want?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, like, yeah, how does Shinya act in like a stealth situation?
I think Shinya is trying to is probably moving very slow through this, trying to be overly cautious because, as described last time, their Caracol is like very bright purple and pink. This is the least stealthy mech.
What?
So they are
That makes 2 of
definitely
us.
like making sure that their like position behind asteroids is like perfect and out of sight, and like taking way too much time to like look and think and judge their next rush to the next one.
Decide?
I think Boreas is like your stereotypical like heavy hitter on their team, and will like land on an asteroid behind you, trying to stealth with. You're trying too hard here, kid.
Well, I don't.
Loosen up. And will jump off of the asteroid and like just carry on their own momentum for a little bit before turning their jets on and continuing through the field.
I think maybe since we're already introducing them, in that case, Euros will also will kind of like appear beside you, like essentially like hovering out of like the shadow of one of the asteroids. I think Euros is like I get the somewhat flirty member of the group is like, hey, you can just follow along, just follow me. It's really not that difficult. So this like kind of almost like sultry voice coming through the comms, and they like very like gracefully kind of weave in between the asteroids, but like waiting for you to kind of catch up if you need to.
I love the idea that their mech has sort of like a fox motif.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
scribbled on like
God.
the side of it, like I like the side of the head. It's got like a fox graphic scribbled on it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got great nose art.
Absolutely.
But mech
Absolutely.
equivalent.
I think Nodos, god of south and summer, burns hot, burns fast. I think that the way they are moving between asteroids is they don't like burn their jets constantly to move across. I think it sort of charges up, hits one explosion, and just rockets straight to the next target.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And
now that we've introduced the audience to the much better team.
I guess I didn't give it a description. So like to finalize, Zephyrus, like I guess it's probably, I don't know. I'm doing this command thing audience campaign. So like squadron leader, I guess, or like squadron like squadron 1 at least, is there like very much like relaxed, like super cool best friend / kind of uncle friend energy. Like if anyone here's played Armored Core 6, they're like rusty but a little older. Like very, very cool, very collected, can easily show the fuck off in their mech, but doesn't deliberately do so unless they either have to or really want to.
I love the idea that they also have a little bit of that energy. I forget what his name was from MSO8th team, but like the guy who's in a band as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as they rocket through the asteroid field, leading heaven after hell and your 2 escorts through, you... First of all, Shinya, you are surprisingly a bit more stealthy in this asteroid field than you'd expect. Except not quite, because the asteroids themselves are purple and a bright orange. So
Cool,
you are
cool, good.
just enough of a different shade to actually stand out against the...
I'm not gonna question that. Cool, that's cool and good for me.
So like you're sort of blending in, but you're also just weird enough that it's kind of uncanny valley. Like if someone looks at you, they're like, you're not here, but like also I thought I noticed something. That kind of feel. But as you make your way through, we open up on a scene with a very, I think that to the 4 of you, a very familiar crew. It's the Joyful Wing. In fact, you see the large ship, the Widowbird, along with their cases surrounding them, in a brawl with what looks like tell me, Louis, are you familiar with any of the crews of Armgate?
Only it takes time to study all forces that he might contend within the system. Absolutely.
Do you know them as the Pleiades? In fact, their carrier, the Seven Sisters, is sitting in the back along with Subaru, their cruiser, their escorts surrounding them, Atlas and Ethra, on point in a brawl with a new ship, which painted on the side is the Silver Quetzal, as explosions, gunfire, well, I'd say echo, but there's no sound in space. But you can still see the bright flares of points as they impact. And you get a transmission, Alatheia. Code transmission matches up with the Tomb Keeper's access code, actually.
Is this comms coming from the ship that's in the middle of the attack between the Joyful Wing and the Pleiades, or is this someone else?
Coming from... it's not coming... There is no... And that's the, I guess you could say, the sticking point. There is no other ship. But it sounds like... But it's being broadcast from a case. It's a larger case. You don't quite... It's one of the older models of RCN design. You can see its call sign, Osprey. And has what looks like a red feather neck collar.
Is this someone that, if I have a good knowledge of military history or forces that are active in this area, I would know? But
Nope.
I'll roll if I have to. I'll roll.
You can go ahead and roll if you want.
You gonna get me anything? If not, I won't bother, obviously.
So you know what? You wouldn't be familiar with it, but you've read through the dossiers of the various piratical groups. It's one of the leaders of Penance.
Well, hell. Hallelujah is going to go from stance they held from here for the very longest time. Lean forward. Bastet will hop up onto the lap. They'll start slowly kind of petting their hard light backed head. Well. I think after a long pause, I assume, given that you've contacted us, you've already identified our ship.
And the comms blares up. It's not a picture of a face. There's no face, but it's just the head of the mech. It's got a bright feathered helm. Yes, we remember you. Lost us the Golden Quetzal. But that's how we know you're good in a scrap. You're late.
Well, if there's some grievance you have with my crew, my ship, or my business, you can take that up with the Wimmer Colony Navy. Have a warrant officer contact you, and have your grievances leveled with the High Admiral's or with the Grand Admiral's Council at your earliest convenience.
Oh, we don't have any grievances right now after all. That was an interesting moment after all. Past is past, future is future. For the present, well, it seems we have a common enemy.
You intend... I think Alatheia takes a long second, and then looking at all the ships on the battlefield. Gate.
Exactly. I knew you weren't a slow one. You're quite sharp.
You recognize a three-pronged battle in the same way that we did, and thus, seeking not to have to be left either to be picked off before we engage, or eliminated as a survivor, you'd leverage that by offering us something in order to ensure that we don't engage before you to get with you want. Or failing that, to engage our own gate together with you.
Yes, that does seem to be the plan. Well, as far as anyone has plans in these kinds of engagements.
You had no plans to survive contact with the enemy. What will it be then?
We'll head in. Give them the old 1-2, as it were. Meanwhile, if you could take on their carrier. I'm afraid they've already taken the shipment, as you may have guessed.
Alatheia, I think the camera like kind of gets like a brief internal thought for a moment, like cutting to not even internally. He cuts to, or they cut to interstitial, like interthought comms between them and Bastet. We're already playing a dangerous gambit. This could change the odds, but it would have to be in our favor if we're going to take it.
They have the codes. Do you think the Tomb Keepers hired them?
Not impossible. They could also have just gotten here before Aram Gate, or bully their way through and grab them first. It could also just be convenience. Lots of inconvenient things are happening to us recently.
Well, if you feel like rolling the die, I think having a good distraction might be prudent. They'll take the heavier fire. We can sneak around and take care of things.
Alatheia doesn't respond for a long time, and then eventually, they shift back over to the leader of Pavana, to the Pavana's leader. We need a hole to get through to the carrier. Discussion will have to be big and loud.
Our specialty. So I take it that you'll be assisting us.
Make the hole first and you'll see. And they'll close the comms over. Take a long, very heavy and stress-filled sigh. And with their eyes closed, open a new comm link. Critical Squadron, Panther Squadron, new orders. Hold tight to the asteroid field and circle anti-spinward along my axis here. Move to these coordinates, hold to my position. I'm gonna give you a signal. Break for the Aram Gate carrier. Important mission note. Do not engage Pavanis units.
Archeron will say, understood. Is there a yet at the end of that sentence?
Alatheia after the long pause. Not at the moment. Stand by.
Understood.
I think that Tenebra changes from wide range comms and dials in the commander specifically. What changed?
Alatheia will hold quietly. Roll the die. Hoping it comes up in our favor. Thinking you all could tip that.
They have the codes, don't they? Noted.
I think after the noted and we deal with that information, after our own gate is cleared here. Carrion, after all, yes?
Red and ready.
I think it's Zephyrus who just, like, whistles a little bit and just, let's hope this don't get us all killed.
Anything else you'd like to sit in the scene for?
It's on your mark.
In there. Go ahead, please.
It's on your mark, Archeron. Let us know. We'll make the break.
That feels to me like a good time to break and pick up next session, or
Yeah.
what do we feel? Yeah.
I think we'll pause this sort of freeze frame camera as the sight of the Silver Quetzal and the Widow Bird sort of barrel their way towards, just straight through the blockade of the Pleiades. And move to Ingress. It's quiet. Sound of robots puttering back and forth. Gone. Just the low heat of the sun ever expanding. Burning closer in an inexorable conflagration heading towards them. You see Schwartz and Murden standing together in the Solar Arboretum. Just watching behind polarized glass so they don't burn their eyes out, just the sun. Murden just turns. Why didn't you leave with them? Well, we were never gonna be able to escape in time anyways. Besides, I couldn't leave my babies. And she just, Schwartz walks through the various plots of flowers blooming. The empty plot, full with a brilliant white, almost lily-like bloom. You know, there's one thing I'm glad about. We'll be here. Together here. You know? And as the flare approaches, amidst the bloom of seeds, plots exploding with color and flowers. At the solar sail, Ingress disintegrates in a conflagration of light.
Can I add one thing?
You may.
In the soundtrack for the show, there's like a fade to black right near the end, or maybe like a tight shot on like some of the flowers. Slowly in the sound mix, the sound of a bonfire just gets louder and louder. And it lingers after blackout for a second or two before credits.
That's perfect, actually. Well, with that, I think that's a a good time to put a stop. So, folks, before we sign off today, I'd like each of our lovely, lovely players to tell us once again who they are, who they played today, and where we can find you in this endless stream of the internet, the vast expanse of the internet. I don't know. I'm running out of words at this point. And let's do this in the same order that we started off with. So, starting with Foxy.
Hi, folks. I'm Young Foxy, aka Big Foxy, also known as your favorite Fox Philly's finest. And I was happy to play tonight for you as Lance Admiral Alatheia System of the Vermont Colony Navy. I can be found all over the internet at Young Foxy. It's YUNG FOXXII. Sometimes there's an underscore in the middle, so if you can't find one, look for the other. You're going to find me mostly right here on Neon Lights Roleplay. In particular, all over our Mecha March event. This month, we are doing Women's History Month huge. All kinds of one-shots, including three more episodes of this awesome campaign right here. All of it will give love and support to charities of our choosing, which will boost femmes throughout the world from diverse backgrounds in every way that we can. We'll talk more about it as soon as we can. Awesome one-shots, lovely new people going to be on screen. It's going to be great. So I won't talk about any of the shit that I'm in. Instead, I just please look at Neon Lights this month, not just for fuck me. Look for all the other incredible people and the lovely femmes and other people you're going to see on your screen in this month. Please give them all the love you can. I've been Foxy. This has been USC. Y'all have been incredible. Good night, and I love you all very much. Mwah.
Next up, Tensei.
Hello. Once again, I am Tensei. You can find me all over the internet at tenseidragon, TENSEIDRAGON. I almost forgot how to spell that in the middle. It's my own name. I've been playing somebody very, very out of place, and it's incredible. This is fun. Thank you guys for having me on such an amazing March Mexness game. That's what I'm gonna call this. You can find me pretty much in Neon Lights and on Blue Sky at Tensei Dragon, or I very recently guested on a podcast called Battle of the Blorbos, where I had to argue on very important issues such as who would win at dodgeball, Ben Tennyson or Peridot Steven Universe. Or who can survive in the wilderness longer, Lightning Final Fantasy or Vriska Homestuck. So go check that out if you want just really stupid power scaling nonsense.
John.
Yep, I'm John. I played Archeron Rose, who I don't know, it's probably going to be more action focused next session. I didn't dismantle anything this time around, so I'll need to catch up on that next time. You can't find me anywhere. No, you can join the Neon Lights Discord server if you want. I'll obviously be here next week for this campaign. I might show up in another thing during Mecha March as well. And then if you want to find what I'm doing, the games that I've written, you can go to john-east.itch.io. That's john-east.itch.io. I don't actually know what the difference between a dash and a hyphen is. I just use both because I figure I'll be some extra clarity on that. And that's that. And then yeah, I'll see everyone back here next week.
Hey everybody, I'm Legendary Vermin. You can find me as which includes YouTube, Itch, here on Twitch, all sorts of places. If you're there, I'm probably there, and I'm there as Legendary Vermin. Tonight, I played Tenebra Shroud, who is on a revenge arc. I am working on a variety of, including a mecha game called No Amount of Armor. Find that on my itch-vermin.itch.io. Yes, Michelle and Foxy have been playing in that game in a show right here on this channel, another mecha show called Stardust Ghosts. I'm really honored. They're great players. They've been doing very interesting things with this system. And y'all are coming back soon with new episodes, right? You've got that
Very
content
soon. Ideally,
Yeah.
if we're lucky, if not during this month, at the end of this month. We'll see.
hella sick. And if you don't know about Starbucks, go check them out. It's all POC, all gay, all the time. Yeah?
Also, all femme and non-binary.
All femme and non-binary. That's the other bit. Very important, especially during this March Madness / supporting women's month. I forget what the actual name is.
Listen, behind every woman, there's a great mech, right? That's
that's what I always say.
Put it on a shirt. Put it. Merch it yesterday. Fucking design team. Where the fuck will be in your DMs tonight? What the fuck?
There's a picture of Sim and then to old lace behind her on the shirt.
Merch it yesterday. You're laughing. I'm not. Like
I feel like that's also a stiletto merch joke. Yeah, please check that stuff out. I'm here all the time. Popularity roleplay. You can sometimes catch me fooling around with the goofs on cult.exe on +1. So I'm around. I'm doing this all the time. Check out my YouTube. It's got links to many, many videos of things that I've been in here and elsewhere.
All right, and I guess that just leaves me. Hi, I'm Michelle. I was your game maestro today, and I played everybody else. You can find me here, and here. That's it. Sorry. Yeah.
we made her sign an exclusive contract. It's simple. She can't be anywhere else.
That's fair. I mean, I just don't exist on the internet, so that's also how it is. But yeah, so before we start off, once again, we'd like to thank Briar Sovereign for making this game. So if you like what you saw here, it was really awesome. Go check it out. And yeah, I think we can end this on a good note. That's not.
Wait, I'm really quickly just gonna read out their itch, because they're itch funding right now for Case and Soul, the game that we just played. They met their initial goal, but that doesn't mean that more cool shit can't happen. So go to weregazelle, weregazelle.itch.io/case-and-soul. If you look up Case and Soul itch, you will probably find it as the first hit.
We will also put out a tweet with the link, if not following the stream, then tomorrow. And also, I know one of the rewards for supporting us at a certain tier, they're doing some super awesome stuff in the formatting in the book with create readouts of comm chatter between pilots. It's so great. It's so lovely and so well written. And you can get your name put in as a call sign or as a name in that stuff at a certain tier. I saw Brian tweeting about it the other day, and I think it's one of the coolest fucking things. So please go support at that level if you can. And if you really want to support but can't think of one, put in a call sign you saw from this game right here, or tell Briar that you think we're really cool, so that they'll come watch this, and maybe you will end up in their face because they're super cool and we want them to see us. Love you a whole lot. Bye.